Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Game of Thrones, The Last of the Starks. And this was kind of a so-so episode. It had the unenviable task of presenting the falling action of the previous episode while trying to build up the rising action of the next movie portion that we're getting, dealing with Cersei's bullshit. So, the first half of this really deals with everybody just freaking out that we survived an army of the dead and we're all alive. And holy shit. Well, first it deals with all these funeral pyres as we see a lot of the main Dothraki. We see Jorah, we see Lyanna Mormont, we see Theon, we see Dany really grieving over Jorah, we see Sansa doing a lot of grieving over Theon, and we see Jon, of course, giving the traditional Night's Watch kind of eulogy for everyone, talking about how they're the shields that guarded the realms of men, and that we shall never see their like again. And I really liked that, as they sent all these giant funeral pyres ablaze for all of these brave warriors, and then everybody goes into fucked up party mode, and we start seeing more resolutions of what's going on in the north. We see that Gendry's been looking for Arya, that Tyrion and Jaime and Brienne and Podrick get into a drinking game, and everything just going on. Now, granted, I'd be like, everybody's like fucking really drunk-ass drunk, but if I fought a horde of the undead reanimated by ice monster necromancers, it was pretty tame. Like, nobody was banging out in the open. It's like, we're alive, we're alive! It was about the level that I'd be like, you should probably be doing that for about a month. Because seriously, winter's pretty much there. And again, it's not the worst winter with the White Walkers being stopped, but Cersei would have issues. We'll bring that up kind of later. But Gendry was kind of talking and decides to go after Arya, and he doesn't see her in there, but he gets stopped by Dany, and she's bringing up how he's Robert Baratheon's son and all that. And at first you're thinking, okay, she's been acting a little bit weird lately. She's really protective of her claim to the throne. Is she going to kill him because he sent assassins after her? And she's like, no. I think you'd be good as Gendry Baratheon, Lord of Storm's End. And he's like, I'm a lord? And everybody kind of toasts to that and everything. And it's really pretty cool just seeing that going on. He's like, alright. He then immediately goes around to find Arya, who's celebrating by shooting arrows, and he proposes to her to be his lady. And granted, you would think that this is a lot. And it kind of is in a condensed time frame, but the thing is, again, they fought an army of the undead. They both survived. And they aren't shitty towards each other. This is Game of Thrones. They are actually, granted, they've only really been together for like one episode, but she hasn't done anything completely horrible to Gendry, and Gendry hasn't really done anything completely horrible to Arya. So, it's not that bad. But of course, she's like, I'm not a lady and all that kind of stuff, and declines. It's like, yeah, you kind of see that coming. And he's like, oh, crap, alright. And we continue to see the parties going on. We get to a point where the Hound's pretty much drunk, and well, first off, we see that the drinking game has gotten pretty bad. We get to the point where they call on Brienne's virginity and everything, and she decides to go off, but Jaime then decides to follow her. We see Tyrion kind of talking it up with Varys about what's going on and how Dany's doing. We see the Tormund's bringing up that Jon was murdered and everything, and all he's ever done for the realm, and Dany's kind of like, not liking that, as she kind of goes off. And it's kind of funny in that scene, we see everybody was talking about the Starbucks cup, but I didn't notice it until later, but now I will. That's my Stormtrooper helmet from episode 4, A New Hope, so yeah. But she kind of goes off because she's seen how well loved Jon is. We see that Podrick gets a lady and starts to go off. We see another lady is trying to go on the Hound, and he's like, I don't want that shit, I just want to drink. And she then goes off, and Podrick's got two ladies, and is like, good on you, Podrick. Moving on. Sansa then goes off and has a chat with the Hound, and it's kind of cool because just reflecting on them, this is kind of a similar relationship to what she had with Theon, except that she went further with Theon than with the Hound, and Hound's saying that, like, all that shit that happened to her wouldn't have happened if she had went with the Hound, and crazily enough, he's probably right, because none of that shit really happened when he had control, not control, but when he brought Arya along and all that, but she's saying that even though those were horrible experiences, they helped shape the person that she is. I understand that, but I really don't. Again, it's mainly the writers. They just really don't give Sansa good material. I'm like, you act so tough and smart and trying to be Cersei, and you're just not. And she just keeps needling Daenerys. And I'm like, have you learned nothing from everything that you've seen from Cersei and Littlefinger and Ramsay and all that shit? Ugh. So, everybody's kind of getting in their groove and all that. And we see that Jaime and Brienne get it on, which is pretty cool to see that. Have them get together. I'm like, okay, well, let's see how this goes. And then we kind of start getting everybody back on the same page. We see that their forces are pretty much evened out with Cersei at the moment. And Dany wants to go right on ahead and attack while they can. It's really kind of weird. This feels like a forced drama between Dany and Sansa. Sansa's like, well, we need to let our people rest. Nobody brought up the effect that it would be better to wait out the winter and just essentially blockade Cersei and starve out the city. Now, granted, that is brought up at a certain point, but Dany is essentially just gung-ho to go, pretty much pushing more of herself, becoming more of a mad queen kind of persona. And that's my biggest issue is with the execution of what's going on. Because it's all truncated, we don't have enough time to get to places character-wise that we'd usually have a lot more time and energy invested into doing this. So it seems like Dany is flipping the script and going on a dime when this has kind of been seeded in the past. But see, the thing is they've had to condense it and move shit at such a fast rate that it kind of gets nuts. And Jon, of course, mediates what's going on, saying that they will honor what they have said they would do with Dany, and being like, do what we need to do. Okay, she wants to move forward, fine. Of course, Tyrion is trying his hardest to get her to understand, listen, we're here to rule these people. We need to tactically take out Cersei, because she's really gung-ho with fire and blood kind of shit, using her dragons. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty alright, but we'll see that essentially Cersei's army has magically been buffed. Okay, I'm gonna say it. Because of condensed time frames, it's kind of buffed. And it's like, damn it. So, of course, Dany and her people are going forward on their fleet because they reconnected with Yara and she's retaken the Iron Islands. And Jon is going to be going on land with the Northern Army. We see that he says goodbye to Sam, and that Sam and Gilly, who's pregnant, are going to be going back up towards the wall. I think, well, that they're going to be staying in the north. It was never really said where they were going to go. It's like, okay. And then we get a really good goodbye with Tormund. And Tormund's like, yeah, I'm going to take the free folk north of the wall and everything. And it's really kind of cool to see him and Jon. And Jon's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And they kind of hug it out. And then he asks Tormund to take Ghost up there because the direwolf shouldn't be this far south. And Jon doesn't say goodbye to Ghost. And I think it's due to budgetary concerns, which if it is, fuck that. Okay? You spend the money to have that beaten up royal direwolf have his goodbye with Jon fucking Snow. Alright? It's not just because of what it symbolizes or what it could do, because I know they're probably saying this is Jon denying his Stark heritage or whatnot. There could have been so many other different ways to do this. But they do the quick and dirty. He kind of nods to Ghost. Ghost is really fucked up. You see his ears messed up, and he's all kind of fucked up from what he's done. Nobody knew what happened to him during the long night battle, and he's here, and he doesn't even go up and like hug him or whatnot, or pat him, or say good boy. And you don't even have to be a dog person to be like, you got fucking denied. It just goes to show that there's some issues with how character development and how character relationships are being messed with here. That starts going on further in this episode. So, we shift and we see that Danny is pretty much getting the Dragonstone, and this is where it gets completely fucking nuts. We see Danny is riding Drogon, Rhaegal's pretty much getting himself worked out from the battle. We see that Grey Worm and Missandei are having their cute little moment, which of course should foreshadow doom, gloom, and shit to come. And then we see that Rhaegal gets taken out like a motherfucker. Like, a lot of Bastille come out. We see that somehow Euron's Greyjoy's fleet, which I saw a lot of them outfitted with ballistae, scorpion shit, to take on dragons, and they kill Rhaegal, and of course Danny's pissed, and they start firing on Grey Worm's ship, and he told Missandei to get into a skiff and escape. And then, of course, we see that Tyrion has his moment of getting out. We see that Varys, of course, saves him again. And Grey Worm's on the beach, and he's trying to look for Missandei, and she's not there. So, here's the first kind of problem. How the fuck does Euron Greyjoy's fleet get there that quickly? Also, there's another important point. Before Tyrion had left, issues had occurred because Jon had his moment with Danny, and she told him not to tell anybody about his true parentage, that it'll be safe if they just leave it like that. Jon, of course, decides to go to the Godswood and tell Sansa and Arya. Well, he has Bran tell him, and we don't even get to see their shocked reactions. Another just, why? Okay. And we see that Sansa, of course, then tells Tyrion about Jon being another choice, because Tyrion was trying to smooth over the shit going on between Sansa and Danny. That becomes important towards this portion of the episode. How did they not understand that Euron Greyjoy's fleet was there? And two, all of their ships being outfitted with ballistae like that are nuts. And being able to kill Rhaegal like that, it's like last episode. Tactics and shit have gone out the window, and everybody's got fucking aim assist. Never mind that it is fucking difficult to understand and use a ballistae when it is stationary. Now we're adding the fact that it's on a ship at sea with tides and waves and everything and air and trying to hit a flying fucking target. Okay? Never mind that pretty much a lot of his ships had these fucking things and were able to just nuke out Rhaegal like a motherfucker, but of course Drogon's got the plot armor in this episode, so fuck him, that's why. And it's just... it's number one. We then go and we see that Tyrion and Varys have a really hard conversation. Varys is like, she's going fire and blood kind of shit, and saying that he thinks that Jon would be a better king because Tyrion tells him about that. And nobody really brings up that, yeah, they could pretty much just fucking marry and then just co-rule. Each one would balance out the other. It's fucking fine. I mean, Danny loves Jon and Jon loves Danny. It's really kind of weird. If they do have that deep feelings and connection with each other over these months, how is that not an actual conversation to have? Even just politically, even if they don't love each other, it would be advantageous. It's not like Targaryens aren't known for doing this kind of shit. Again, it's condensed and everything needs to be pushed down. They probably got the outline of how this ended, and they have to figure out how to get there no matter what the cost. So it's like, Oh, jeez. So, of course, Dany's on the warpath, and Tyrion is trying to... Tyrion and her advisors are trying to wrangle her. But we get down, and we see one of... I don't get the logic of how this occurred, because Euron Greyjoy's fleet, from what I just saw, killed Rhaegal and fucked up one ship. One ship out of Dany's big-ass motherfucking fleet. Okay? How did any of Euron's people get there to capture Missandei? Because Missandei got captured. And, of course, Cersei's gloating, getting Euron to figure out that, of course, she's pregnant with a kid, trying to make it think that it's his and all that, and that they've got Missandei in chains and all that. I don't know how they captured her. At all. It was like some teleporting bullshit. And I'm like, the fucking hell? So we get to a point where Dany's got her little army of, well, not little army, but little group of Unsullied and Drogon, and we see the King's Landing is now outfitted with these Scorpion Ballistae, and we get terms provided each other. Tyrion goes to Qyburn. It's pretty much hand to hand. And pretty much Tyrion's like, hey, we're all good if Cersei surrenders, and Qyburn's like, Dany needs to surrender or Missandei's gonna get killed. And the whole issue with what goes on with Missandei is, no pun intended, but of course it's gonna come up, the execution of everything. It's just condensed and bullshit occurs. I don't know how they captured her. Not unless Missandei, who we've seen to be a stable, smart person, not prone to egregious freakouts, would have to take the skiff and drive it towards the Euron Greyjoy's fleet to get captured. I don't know. But of course, Tyrion goes up and tries to reason with his sister, who we just need to have another reason to show that she's an unstable, crazy, batshit person. Never mind that any reports of her having nuked the Sept of Baelor would have put that shit to rest. As she has the mountain execute Missandei, and her last words are Jacaerys pretty much pushing Dany to go fucking full on Mad Queen and flame out everything. Now granted, her emotions and being pushed and pissed off like this makes sense. It doesn't fit within her character to visit injustice and decide to go full scorched earth, Drogon style, on King's Landing. She is usually just fed her retribution and justice onto those who she believes she deserved it. And of course we see the problems with that, with the Tarleys and all that, and other better ways that it could have been done. Because she goes to fire pretty frequently. So we pretty much see that set up for what's going to be going on in the next episode. I don't think Cersei completely understands what's going on. We had also seen that Arya and the Hound are deciding to go down to King's Landing because the Hound has unfinished business down there, and so does Arya. And, of course, I kind of like seeing their relationship back on. The Hound asking if she'd leave him to die again. She says probably. He, of course, chuckles at it, and they're going off to do their thing. It's pretty much clearly setting up that also Jaime is going down to King's Landing and leaves Brienne crying because, granted, he has turned into a better character, but he needs to go down to King's Landing to pretty much stop what's going on. Him and Tyrion, before Tyrion had left with the fleet, had also been approached by Bronn, and he had come because Cersei told him to kill him. But, of course, Tyrion and Jaime were like, hey, we'll just make you Lord of Highgarden. And he's like, alright, cool, and buggers off. So we got all those different things in the mix. It really sets up that Jaime or Arya are going to be Jaime, Arya, or Tyrion are going to be responsible for killing Cersei. Or granted, she could go into premature labor and die in childbirth with the kid. We'll have to see. There's multiple different routes. Arya might at some point kill Jaime or Tyrion to take their face and kill Cersei. We'll kind of have to see where this goes, because if they're going to go and try and subvert what's going on, I doubt that Dany is going to be the one to kill Cersei, even though that would be the most gratifying at this point for her to feed Cersei to her dragon. It would be really weird if Jon Snow is the one that pops up and, in the end, kills Cersei like Joffrey did to Ned Stark, where they're able to capture the city, they pronounce her deed, and he beheads her like Ned was beheaded. But that wouldn't be as really satisfying. I mean, it would make more sense because he's a Targaryen and would be setting his claim up and everything, but we'll have to see how this shakes out. I don't know. I'm getting heavy Walking Dead vibes of why I stopped watching that, but granted, this is like the end. There are just certain narrative choices that I don't like, and it's mainly down to them condensing everything and not having the content that Martin has needed to provide. Okay? Granted, I'm putting more of the onus on the people on the show because they've also, granted, they were the ones that agreed to do the show and get in through it. But Martin is just as culpable of what's going on because he had just provided them with an outline, so they had to fill in the dots themselves and try and make everything fit. And this is what we got. And if he wanted to do this right and have it fit more than his vision, he should have been more involved with it to begin with and actually finish it in TV form. But I think the problem that comes into effect is he doesn't know how to stick to a complete timeline. That's why we're waiting so long for the other books. I don't know. I'm disliking what's going on, and I hope that it evens out in the end. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.